rational. The universe embodies rationality. Now, if you think about it, that's odd. It's pretty easy to say that my friend Bill is rational, or Christopher Hitchens is partially rational. It's another thing to say that matter and objects and planets embody a certain kind of rationality. They follow rational principles. Number two, the universe obeys laws that are comprehensible in the language of mathematics. Again, if you think about it, that's very strange. If I'm driving my car, I can follow laws. I see a stop sign, I come to a halt. How does matter obey laws? How does the electron know what to do? If we look at matter, it is unbelievably well behaved. It follows the laws of Newton's inverse square law. It obeys Einstein's laws. The point I'm trying to get at here is that this is a metaphysical proposition. A third one, the laws out there in nature are mirrored by the goings-on within our minds. We can apprehend and understand the laws. Very odd. Why should the goings-on within our head match the goings-on in the universe? Now, if you're a believer, you know why. God is believed to be omniscient, which is to say super rational. He built the universe to embody rationality. God is a lawgiver, and the universe reflects his laws. We are made in God's image. We have a spark of the divine, so it's not surprising to the theist that you have this arrangement. But for the atheist, you can't take any of that for granted. This is faith-based science. A final point. We hear a great deal about how Christianity has been terrible for the world. The truth of it is, if you look at the casualties of Christianity, the Inquisition, the Crusades, the Salem witch trials — I read a book on the Salem witch trials. I had been educated to believe the Salem witch trials had killed thousands, or at the very least hundreds of people. I discovered that at the Salem witch trials, the number of people executed was, in fact, 18. The Inquisition, if you read Henry Kamin's book, the most authoritative study of the Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition, over 300 years, killed 2,000 people. Now, just try to compare that to the crimes inflicted by atheist regimes, not 500, not 1,000 years ago, but within our lifetime. If you look only at the big three, Stalin's Russia, Mao's China, the Nazi regime in Germany, you have, within the space of 5 decades, over 100 million casualties. So atheism, not religion, is responsible for the mass murders of history. I want to end by saying that I think Christianity has done a lot for the world. The world would be a lot worse if we didn't have it. I think even Christopher Hitchens, by the end of today, should be chanting, if only under his breath, "Thank God for Christianity."
Well now, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, comrades, friends, brothers, sisters, I would be self-sacrificially a Christian if I cut into my own time, limited as it is, to pay any compliments, so I won't, except to say that Dinesh is one of the most formidable debaters I've ever encountered on any subject, that he has the further great advantage of actually believing in this stuff. You try it. You go up and down the country, ask a Calvinist, does he really believe in Calvin's theory of predestination? Ask a Roman Catholic, do they really believe in the virgin birth? You get all kinds of Life of Brian evasions from them. It's metaphorical, really. No, Dinesh believes this. That's very useful. And then I want to thank the alarmingly polite and wholesome faculty and staff of the King's College. Now, I'm asked to prove that Christianity is the problem, and I'll try to do that, but for now, all I need to I think I need to say is it's a problem or part of the problem, being as it is what we know it to be, a loose plagiarism from Judaism, and along with Judaism, one of the other two religions plagiarized in turn, that's given us all the blessings of Islam. So it's part of man-made religiosity that trades under the brand name of monotheism. And the problem that all three have in common is that of faith. Faith, in other words, that a man-made religion can actually keep a promise of salvation, not just in this life and the next. Dinesh, you'll notice, was careful to say, well, certain social ameliorations can be written down to Christianity. He didn't claim that it was a salvation in this life or the next, just that some of its adherents have occasionally taken liberal stances. Well, I think he'll find he has a higher standard of proof in front of an audience like this. That's the first belief that faith involves. And second, the belief that faith is in itself a virtue, transcending reason and dispensing, conveniently enough, with the need for evidence. Now, it's my proposition straight out and straightforwardly that what we think of as our morality, as our ethics, comes from human solidarity and predates all forms of monotheism. Don't let it be said in your hearing, ladies and gentlemen, any of you who have any self-respect, that, we know the story to be fiction of the Exodus and the wandering and the encounter in Sinai. We know that really to be a metaphor, but taking it to be true that my mother's ancestors wandered all that time under the belief that perjury and murder and theft were okay, only to eventually bump into Mount Sinai and receive the news it wasn't kosher after all. We have to have more respect for ourselves than that. Any human society that had believed those things wouldn't have got that far. I think it's pretty safe to say. Christianity, in other words, is masochistic as well as partly sadistic. It attacks us in our deepest integrity. It says that you and I wouldn't know a right action, wouldn't be able to derive it, or a right thought without the permission of a celestial dictatorship that guards us while we sleep, that can convict us of thought crime, that supervises our every waking moment, that is in fact the origin of totalitarianism in the obeisances that it demands of us, and that will continue to judge us and persecute us and supervise us even after we were dead. This, in my view, as well as being utterly untrue, utterly falsified by fearful human beings, is something that it is very fortunate we possess no evidence for. How horrible it would be if we were condemned to live in this posture of gratitude, permanent gratitude, to an unalterable dictatorship in whose installation we had had no say. And let me add, the worst of that would be if that dictatorship was benign. That would be the thing that would make it insufferable. Some of us refuse it, and we do so on what we confidently say are moral grounds, as well as the ground that the story is a fairy tale, made up by fallible and opportunistic human beings. Why else would I say, in the time I've got left, that Christianity is, as well as untrue, immoral? Well, it offers something horrible, vicarious redemption. You're told that by applauding a human sacrifice, a particularly cruel and revolting one, that took place before you were born, to fulfill a prophecy in which you had no say, condemns you either to punishment and sin if you don't accept it, or, if you do accept it, offers you the chance that your own sins can be forgiven you. Well, everything is wrong with this picture. First, as with the original proposition of a deity, it requires of you compulsory love as well as compulsory fear. You have to simultaneously love someone, you're commanded to love them, and be frightened of them at the same time. This is no way to teach morals. Second, you're told not that you might get a second chance, or that your debts can be paid. I can pay your debts if I care enough for you. I could serve your time in prison if I wished. But I can't forgive you the sin. I can't absolve you of the responsibility for what you've already done. I can't wash you white as snow. And the desire to be washed in that way and to be free of responsibility is itself an immoral one and should be rejected by anyone with any, I'll repeat the term, with any self-respect. So the vicarious redemption by human sacrifice is an immoral preachment with very immoral implications, as is compulsory love coupled with compulsory fear. The idea that the laws of nature can be suspended in your favor if you make the right propitiations is a lie. Dinesh points out what a lie it is. Einstein says how marvelous it is. The great thing about the universe is its laws never are suspended.